Right, hello YouTube, welcome back to some more Kerbal Space Program. Now, in this particular little campaign, our long-term goal has been to build a colony on Eeloo. We're finally actually at the point of setting up for that, and you join us as we assemble the craft that we are planning to use to do that. Oh, actually, execute that next node would help. At the moment, the colony ship is down there. Just a stray booster that we've been using to push this around. We're just about to get a bit closer to it. And we are just currently working on docking this module, which is the mining module. The idea being that this would be what the colonists would use to effectively refuel their ships and things, or their equipment. We are going to finish up the series once we complete this colony mission, and it won't be a return trip. It is a one-way. It's meant to be a permanent colony. So we're almost at the end now, really. But I did say I would start this episode with the sort of final approach and docking of the 3 remaining modules. We've already docked the crew module, and the core is already complete. That was a whole endeavour in and of itself, but we did eventually get through it. Accelerate a bit until we're in about 200 meters, then we'll slow down manually and get this module docked on. I think we're coming from above, so I think we're going to be... Yeah, I think the crew module's actually visible below us there. The bean-shaped section above on the airship. We are going to slow down our main engines because before, when we did it with the RCS, whoop. Let's pick our target quickly and get docking. Come on. I'm going to drift out of range. Game. Camera. Set as target. Autopilot. Autopilot enabled. Good, right. Sorry, I had to do that before we drifted out of range. Do force roll to 0 because otherwise it's a square docking port. It's either going to look really weird or it's just not going to work. You don't know which. I had to be a little bit careful with these modules because the crew module that we've docked fit fine. But it is also the shortest module, so I had to be a little bit careful with that. But yeah, in terms of the rendezvous, that actually was a lot easier this time. It wasn't too bad before anyway, but it was a lot easier with this one. Monopropellant, we've got extra on board, because we've got the extra fuel tanks. I should have emptied these actually, if anything, but it's fine. We'll also... We have additional solar panels on this craft, so we will extend them. Though we may have to retract them depending on how wide they are compared to the others. Say rotate to 0. Right, yeah, so we may have to, depending on how long that antenna is, we may have to retract it, but I'll do a save in case something goes wrong. I think we'll be okay. So you can see the colony ship is quite an impressive bit of kit. It is basically a combination of living space at the front, these 3 modules, including the large centrifuge, central spine, here, where the others are going to dock to, and the engines, 600 tons of nuclear fuel, and 7 nuclear saltwater rockets, meaning this thing could actually burn through 600 tons of fuel in about 17 minutes. It is a very powerful booster stage. And as I realised later, probably even completely overbuilt for the mission we're running, but that's fine. It's kind of the finale. I want it to be something cool. Although I am, to some degree, while this has been fun, this was this is the planned finale mission for the thing, and I'm going to see it through. I have to admit, I did enjoy the Grand Tour. It had some problems, my word, but I kind of enjoyed actually doing that, like taking on a mission that was so difficult, and it worked. That was the thing. Like, yeah, we had to do the occasional reload or whatever, or yeah, we had the occasional moment of jank from MechJeb, but overall, it did work, and we made it back. Including a very unusual landing that also, again, did work, but maybe didn't expect it to. We're drifting in the... Yeah, we're just drifting purely in the right direction now, which is good. Music. I'll probably wait until we're a lot closer with the other 2, but I wanted to do a little introduction, and I figured if we were a little bit further off, we could do that. As I said, these modules are all a little bit different. The mining module has the resource processing. It has a bit of storage for ore at the bottom. It has radiators. It also has these storage tanks, so we technically have refining space for monopropellant, lithium, and liquid fuel and oxidizer. I figured would be some of the most commonly used materials. Lithium for fusion systems, liquid fuel and oxidizer because obvious, and monopropellant because obvious. And it has 2 reaction wheel setups instead of just 1 because I figured the extra torque might be useful. Considering I thought this was going to be one of the heaviest ones, but I think actually in truth the heaviest module is the science lab. For the modules themselves, in case you missed the last episode, we have the crew module, holds 12 Kerbals in hopefully relative comfort. We have this mining module for refueling. We have the command module, which is basically almost another crew module, but it also has wheels and a few extra little bits and pieces, so it is capable of moving around on the surface. And the idea is we will land that one first, and that will find a good landing spot. And then the others will follow on to, well, land at that good, nice flat spot. And lastly, we have the science module, which has a lab and a bunch of science equipment. It's pretty self-explanatory for the most part, and it's also the heaviest. But in theory, they're all good to go for a landing on Eeloo. We've just got to get them there, and that's what this ship is for. And again, this probably ended up overbuilt. We probably didn't end up needing anything quite like the sort of specs that this thing came out with. But again, I wanted something nice for our finale. Definitely been a case this playthrough of things I could have done to make our job much easier, like the Grand Tour, for example. We didn't have to land on any of the planets. We built the Lion Landers so we could land on them, but like we actually didn't have to at all. Nothing in our contract needed us to land. We could have just done like close orbits, and that would have sped things up like a lot. But gotta have a little bit of fun, a little bit of adventure. That's the point after all. Again, we'll definitely be getting out the next game because once our last grand mission is complete. Although I might come back to Kerbal at some point. I'd like to come back for Kerbal 2 as well, but that's going to be further off than I thought because that's been delayed to 2023. Yay. I might come back to Kerbal anyway, but the next game planned is From the Depths. We're going to have From the Depths, even didn't pronounce that very well. We're going to have a proper crack at the campaign. I've done a little bit of fiddling around with it again to get back into it a bit. Still mostly remember how to play, but as for doing well in the campaign, that's going to be interesting. And yeah, I think I said this last time as well, but I'd like to get back to Astrox when I can, but I am waiting on the developers to get that new story content in, because I'd heard that was going to be in one of the next updates. Right, moving in, almost there, and then like I say, I'll cut to much closer to the actual docking for the other 2. Frame rate is starting to tank again a bit, but it should be a little... Actually, I don't know if it'll be better than the other ship or not. I think it's about the same size. It is about twice the weight. Although it's not as bad as I thought. I was budgeting 75 tons for each lander in terms of like weight, and we've hit nowhere near that. I think the heaviest one is like 50 or 60. So, and the rest are all lighter than that. Indeed, we may have balance issues. We'll have to see how that goes because I don't know how well these landers, I guess, relate to each other weight-wise. But it looks like the mining module is going to dock no problems, no clearance issue. No clearance issues by the look of it. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be all good. As Homeworld 2 lot would say, docking with mothership. Docking complete. And there we go, 2 on. I'll see you guys again in a minute with the last 2. Okay, and we're back with the science module. The science module is having a slight problem with its engines being a little bit unbalanced, it turns out. I guess it didn't do quite a good enough job balancing it out. But it is near the ship, so we're just bringing it in now. I will hesitantly time warp closer. I will not, because that's causing problems. Okay. So we're up to a little under 1 meter a second. I believe this is the heaviest module of the 3. So this one could dock. The last one, which is the command module, should be fine. I have really come up on the wrong side of this, but try and dock it to that underneath the module there. Yeah, but we might have to wait in slow speed, unfortunately, for this thing to approach, because, well, we saw what happened when we tried to do it quicker. But yes, I can't remember how long this episode's been, because I'm recording this part on a different day. But I'm assuming that once we've docked all 4, that'll be a good place to call it, so I'll call the episode there. I'm going to try today and finish the program. We're nearly done. It'll be the transit out to Eeloo, and then it'll be land the command module, drive it to a good spot if it isn't already in a reasonably good one. Try and find a flat spot near the landing site. Now we'll land the modules. We'll run some science experiments, test the refinery, and if that all works, we'll call it. We'll consider that a successful program. We've sort of done what we set out to do. Okay, well, I will quick save and I will try time warping, but I'll keep an eye on the distance difference, even if it physically moves it away. If I wait for it to drop about 200 meters and then unpause, it should whiz closer to us again. I'm a little worried about that. I have limited the engine, so what I might even just do is a little pulse towards it and then a little pulse further away. I've limited the engines to about 22.5%, which seems to be enough that it stays in reasonably good control. We don't have a huge amount of monopropellant, and this ship is heavy, so I am trying to be a little bit careful with that. Because of course we're going to have to dock. What I might even do is basically pull us to a dead stop once we're near it and rotate the main ship and then set it to dock. Sort of make sure we're already facing the right way. Yeah, it's a lot better. We can approach at a bit higher speed and then slow down once we're closer. We've still got quite a lot of leeway. You should still have enough fuel to land. It should only take about 600 to land on Eeloo. Picking a target will need a little bit more, but we should be okay. I think it's quite low delta V, and as long as we pick a landing spot near where the lander is, it won't have to do too much course correction. What I will do is approach until it can see the docking port. Then I might set it to orbit facing upwards relative to the planet. That might be a good way to do it. I believe that's the thing you can do. Getting there. Oh, geez, this is a little bit slow. But that's just how it is. I have to actually do relative velocity minus, because I think we're going to be decelerating in the wrong direction if I do target minus, considering we're sort of drifting past it a little bit. May even have to give a short pulse towards the ship anyway, because we're not really getting much closer anymore because of the way we're lining up on it. Okay, we should be able to target the docking port any second. Or are we not? Or actually, we might drift straight past it and that'll work perfectly, actually. Okay, yeah, we might actually just try and dock now, because I think actually with the way we've sort of half drifted past it already. Where is it? Docking autopilot. Docking autopilot. Quick save just in case, because you never know what's going to go wrong with this game, I swear to God. And to save you guys the slowness of the approach, I'll just cut to when we're actually about to dock. So, one moment. You ever seen an AI pushing its luck? Because that's what I'm seeing right now. Megjev seems to think this is a good approach path. It's like, my dude. Yeah, I was going to say. It's like you spotted the centrifuge, right? Yeah, you can fit through the gap of the solar panels. That's actually quite impressive that it seemed to think it could do that. But you're coming in a little high, my dude. Right. Back in a moment. Hope we have enough RCS fuel for this to actually work. Alright, and ship is on final ascent. Looking pretty good. I may have to, I'll throttle these back up to full for now. For landing, I might have to do some tweaking. Because I didn't realise this ship was going to end up off balance. And obviously we do need to land all the modules. But we can only reduce the power so much for an Eeloo landing. I know we have the thrust, or at least I'm pretty sure we have the thrust to wait for it. I hope I remember to check that. I don't believe Eeloo's gravity is very high at all. Yes, RCS was a little tight, but we're okay. We have some left, so we can do our separation later. Centrifuge still spinning. Lights aren't on in this module yet, but they will be in a minute. Rest of the ship's looking good. I'm not sure what the radiators are radiating, considering the engines aren't switched on at the moment, but hey ho. They're still ditching heat from the earlier thing, which I hope they wouldn't be at this point. I don't know how long it takes them. But if they've got the power to shunt the heat from 7 of those engines, it shouldn't be an issue overheating, so I don't really know quite what's going on there, really. And docking up. Lag spiking. Alright. Shut down lights. And testing electronic lights in the new module. Hey. Cool. 3 modules down. We have just got 1 more remaining to dock with the ship, and then we'll call the episode there. So I'll be back in a moment. I'll cut straight to the final docking unless any interesting happens en route. Back in a moment with the colony module. And here we are. Surprisingly enough, actually, compared to every other part of this thing, I think, the command module had very few problems. It actually pretty much came, not quite straight up. It did miss the encounter, but went over it a bit because I was having some trouble with launch. But once it got past the actual launch itself, Mekjab kept trying to engage the rockets before its countdown started, which was weird when I tried to launch the rendezvous. But when I just eventually told it just do a normal takeoff, we'll launch a little bit above, that's fine, and then we'll just home and transfer to inset with the rendezvous planner. It worked fine. No issues at all, really. I'm not quite sure why, but hey ho. And we're on final approach to dock now. You might be noticing that the frame rate is not really appreciating all this. I thought this might be better than the previous craft, but no. And one thing to mention, and this is hopefully going to speak to the performance of the next game if they can get it right for Kerbal 2. Supposedly Kerbal 2's VAB, which this craft does just about fit inside, it's near the limit probably, but it does fit in. Supposedly there are engines in that game larger than that entire building. So I'm going to assume that the frame rate's going to be considerably improved. Or we might have some problems if this is what one vehicle that size does. Mind you, size alone is not too bad. I have seen people welding stuff together and tweak scaling huge things. And they perform reasonably well. Reasonably well, even. But yes, we're on final approach now, and then next episode we'll do the departure and the landing of the command module, hopefully. Maybe even the whole thing, depending on how it's going. But this shouldn't be too tricky of a flight in general. It's pretty standard in some ways. It might be using a very fancy fuel, but it is actually quite a conventional point engines forward burn rocket in a lot of ways. Some very big radiators. And solar panels for that matter as well, actually. Gotta hope we don't crash into any of the boosters and things kicking around, as I did have to clear up a load of space junk when I first loaded up today, because I realised, oh, there's little bits of like emergency shed like solar panel and like RCS tank and things were still kicking around in orbit. It's just like, oh shoot, those are using processing power up, aren't they? Because it's counting their orbits. Not a huge amount, I imagine, but it'll be using a little bit, so I have cleared them. Almost there. I'll see if thrusters firing a little bit, but magnetic range entered any second. If they even have magnets. Hey! Okay, and rebooting lights with full systems. We're done. Huzzah, the ship is complete. The final vessel that will finish our little playthrough. We are ready to set sail for Minmus, or rather we will be once I deactivate all of the engines on the landers, because we don't want those firing mid-burn. That will cause problems. We are also going to balance out the fuel reserves. Although nothing has immediately happened there, I notice. Interesting. Okay, RCS can be balanced, that's something. We have lithium on board? Oh, right, yes, of course, from the some of the engines. Or? What? Or? Oh, okay, it's still showing even though they're out. I was going to say, wait a minute, we don't have any ore on board, do we? Okay. Cool, I'm going to leave that one there. As usual, as I always say, any likes, comments, subscriptions always helpful. And if you really want to help the channel, check out the games I've made in the description. See you guys all again next time when we launch properly for our final mission. Goodbye. Oh, wrong button to finish recording as well. Goodbye.